lot of damage!
Hey, welcome to Black Myth Wukong. I've been playing this game non-stop for the last 6 or 5 days and I absolutely love it, and today I want to introduce to you what I think is the best build, most damaging build in this game, both when it comes to defense and offense. The armor set I'll be using is the Bull King's armor set, which gives you the most defense in the game, and the reason why I want to go for defense when I'm talking about offense is because of the Dark Iron Staff, which I think you get in New Game Plus exclusively, which kind of sucks, but I understand why, because it is pretty busted. It's going to convert all your defense into offense, which is why I want to max out my defense. As of right now, you can see that I'm sitting at 236 attack power, which is huge. It is substantial. And you also will notice that I don't have every single set of this armor equipped because I don't want to disable my perfect dodges. So I went for this specific gauntlet because it's going to increase my critical chance after spending a focus point, which we will do a lot. So this is basically the armor set. I don't think you can get every single one of those pieces on your first playthrough. It may require a second one because of how the game works, and if you're willing to go through a second playthrough, trust me, you're going to be busted and you'll be deleting bosses in no time. I'm sorry, you'll be deleting gods in no time. So this is the plantain fan, which is as busted as it looks. It is the strongest item in the game and you should definitely use it. And also, just to boost my defense just a little bit more, I used the Wandering White, which is probably one of the best spirit in the game. And also the most important thing when it comes to this build is the fact that you will be using Spellbinder, which completely restricts your ability to cast any other spell besides Spellbinder. And I know you won't be able to do some silly things like using Cloud Step 10 times in a row, which is very fun. Please, devs, don't take it away. We are having such a good time with it. Please, it doesn't need fixing. Anyway, Spellbinder is going to nullify your ability to cast any other spell, but it also gives you plenty of damage back. And depending on how much mana you have, because it's the mana being converted into damage, depending on how much mana you have is going to also increase your damage. So we have two things converting things into damage. We have our defense being converted and also our mana. So for example, if you use the essence decoction to increase your mana, the overall damage you get from a Spellbinder is going to also increase. I know I'm speaking kind of fast right now, but I just want to keep it short because the last time I did this, it was a 30-minute video, which is not great. It does not work for people and they may tend to just get bored and click on something else before you even get to where you want to go. So when it comes to our relics, I'm using mostly anything which is damage oriented and doesn't rely on casting any other spell because we won't be doing that. So I'll say go for exactly what you see on screen unless you feel comfortable using something else. And something I uncovered while playing this game is that you have some thresholds when it comes to resistance. For example, you're going to notice I have right now 111 when it comes to burn resistance. So depending on the chapter, I'm going to switch things around and go for maybe like chill resistance or poison resistance, because you can freely do that and reset your mind calls whenever you encounter the wolf-like deity. So you can freely switch things around. And the reason as to why you want to reach 100 is because it is a threshold, and whenever you reach that threshold, you will never get afflicted by any bane whatsoever. I'm saying if you have 100 in any of those bane resistance attributes, you will never get frozen, burned, poisoned, or shocked, which is something I think is huge because, again, with this build, you don't have to rely on anything beside your skills, and knowing that you don't have to worry about all those afflictions is great. It is very great. So do whatever you can to get your overall resistance to 100 depending on the chapter you are going in. And since I talked about mana before, increasing your mana, you should definitely be using and crafting pills because they are crazy strong in this game, especially this one. This one is so good and it comes in a limited edition unless you collect some seeds and harvest them. to make even more, but it's going to increase your attack, your critical chance, and critical damage for a long time, which is huge. It also works well, I think, with the enhanced ginseng pellet, and you can also get some other pills. And whenever you feel like the fight is too hard, you can come back to life with this. I don't know, I feel like you'll be missing out on a lot if you don't use the pills, especially the ones which boost your attack. And it can lead to scenarios where you can take half a boss's health bar within like 5 seconds. So you do it twice and they're dead within 10 seconds. And I think that it really showcases how strong Wukong can get. And that's the kind of damage you want him to do, because he's supposed to be a god. He's supposed to be that strong. And this build does exactly that. Now let's talk about the drinks I'll be brewing. Honestly, I really like the monkey brew because I'm a monkey, and you know, it just gives me plenty of health. But I think you can also use this to give you more sockets for your soaks. I tend to go for those ones right here. Also, I really love the iron pellet because it prevents you from being interrupted whenever you're drinking, so you'll never be in a scenario where you want to drink and you get interrupted. I really like this one because I don't have anything else which could be beneficial. And also I'm using this one because it gives you more health whenever you are in the critical state. So basically I have 10 charges when it comes to how many times I can drink, and I want to wait to the moment where my health is low enough so that I can get more health. So with all those working for you, there is almost no chance for you to die unless you are playing recklessly, which I hope you do not. So when it comes to your spells, you won't need anything beside Spellbinder, which means that your skills can be invested in anything else, such as maybe your transformation. And speaking of transformations, you're going to notice that you have a section here which says transformations, and you may be led to believe that those things right here only affect your transformation. That's not true. They affect Wukong. Those 10 skills right here, they affect Wukong, and only the ones at the bottom affect your transformations. So feel free to play with those things right here, and I think you do need this one to get all the way to 100 when it comes to the threshold and pain resistance thingy. You don't have to spend anything else in any other spell. I don't think you need all 3 stances, and definitely not spend 40. Don't need to spend 44 points here. I guess spend your really hard earned sparks in whatever stance you feel most comfortable with. And yeah, I guess you should always go for mana first, and defense and stamina, because like I said before, your defense and your mana is going to be converted into attack power. So health, you never die to a boss because you need more health. It's because you didn't deal enough damage and they're not dead within seconds. That's why you die. So I would say do everything you can to increase your mana, your defense, and your critical chances, your critical damage, and you'll be fine. And here's the thing about criticals in this game. If you do things correctly, chances are your next attack, if it is like a heavy attack for example, is going to be afflicted by, it's going to be a critical hit. It's going to deal 189 damage, and it can be more depending on the items you consume. This is huge. This is how you can sometimes delete bosses within seconds, because you do that twice and they're dead, which is huge. Again, this is the most damaging build for a reason. It deals damage, and just because you have Spellbinder doesn't mean that you can transform, for example, because transformations do not consume mana. So you feel free to transform, and feel free to also use the fan, which is broken, in multiple ways, and feel free to also use your spirit, headbutt, and then when you feel like you exhausted your options, then you can go into Spellbinder. And Spellbinder also gives you a little bit of health, which is great. It gives you just a tiny bit of health, so you don't have to use it right away unless you want to go big boy damage right off the bat. So I think this summarizes the build pretty much. I will be using it against Online Chan, I think that's how you pronounce his name, because he's a very strong boss, and I want to always showcase a strong build and get a strong opponent. That way you can actually trust me. I'm credible. I'm more credible if I can showcase that this build works against even the strongest of foes. I already used it against a yellow dragon guy. He got obliterated and this wasn't even the final build form. He got obliterated by like something I was trying to do while coming up with this build. So imagine how much damage I can get now. It's just crazy. So hopefully I was explicit enough when it comes to the build, and hopefully you can actually integrate it into your playstyle and just demolish everything. But again, you are giving up on plenty of spells such as Immobilize, which in my opinion is quite I'll say unreliable because of how it works. Right now, I think they need to tweak the way it works, because sometimes it will work and sometimes it won't, and you wasted your mana. I think I wanted to talk about it in a later video, but I think Cloud Step is overall better than Rock Solid, and I think Spellbinder is better than Immobilize because at least it's consistent. But yeah, so overall you give up your ability to cast more spells, but at the same time you get so much damage that it doesn't matter if you cast spells to begin with. So I'm Jisoo. I'm going to see you soon for another build and for another maybe like boss demolition process, and hope you have a good day, good night, and are enjoying the game as much as I am. I'll see you soon. Peace. Bye.